Hello, everyone. My name is Roger, and this is my working theory essay. So I put in a little disclaimer here. The following is my best estimate guess of what happened in the Idaho 4 case. This is all my opinion and speculation based on the PCA as well as various research from news reports, websites, and various other sources. Start with a little background on Brian Koberger. He was born November 21st, 1994 in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. I haven't heard much about BK's first 10 years or so, but it was reported when he was about 10 or 11, his family apparently went through some hard economic times and had to move from their family home. Supposedly, this had a negative impact on the young BK. Once in middle school, it has been reported that BK was bullied a lot. He was overweight, but had a small clique of friends who were equally bullied. Apparently, this bullying continued into high school through his junior year. It's been reported that BK went through a transformation going into his senior year in high school. BK leaned out and lost his excess weight, and it has been reported that he started bullying people himself. He also apparently started training in boxing mixed martial arts, and this was also when his heroin addiction began. Shortly after graduating from Pleasant Valley High School in 2013 at age 18, BK attended Monroe Career and Technical Institute in Bartonsville, Pennsylvania, but dropped out a year or so later in 2014, age 19. Also in 2014, BK stole his sister's iPhone and sold it for parts at a kiosk at a local mall. It has been reported that BK was in rehab around the 2014-2015 time frame, so this would put his ages around 19 and 20. After completing rehab, the stolen iPhone incident was expunged from his criminal record. In 2016, around age 21, BK attended Northampton Community College in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, where he earned an associate's degree in psychology in 2018 at age 23. After graduating from Northampton, BK worked as a security guard for the Pleasant Valley School District, the same school district where his father previously worked as a maintenance worker for many years and his mother for a time as a substitute teacher. After transferring from community college in 2018, BK received a BA in 2020 at age 25 and an MA in 2022 at age 27 in criminal justice from DeSales University, located in Central Valley, Pennsylvania. After DeSales, BK was accepted at Washington State University. By the way, we call WSU Wazoo out here on the West Coast, and he was accepted as a PhD candidate. As most of us are aware, WSU is located about 8 miles west of the University of Idaho, located just over the state line in Moscow, Idaho. Some observations on BK's formative years. From BK's small clique of friends from middle school to his junior year in high school, it seems like he systematically alienated most of them during his senior year or post-high school. BK did have a friend or two that ran at night with him, but no one has come forward said they were really very close friends or he had any sort of male best friend. No one has also come forward and said that he ever had a girlfriend or any kind of sustained boyfriend-girlfriend type relationship. One woman came forward and explained that she had a disastrous Tinder date with him. She had to fake being sick to get BK to leave. Also, there was a story from a local pub, I think this was in Pennsylvania, that BK used to frequent, and he would essentially harass the female wait staff, saying things like, "Where do you live?" and, "Can I have your phone number?" as first statements to them, pretty much put them off, right? The pub owner had to have a man-to-man talk with him, tell him he is welcome at the pub, but he can't harass the female staff. Apparently, BK never returned to that pub. I believe BK had incel traits and was most likely influenced by the writings of Elliot Rodger's Manifesto. For those not familiar with Elliot Rodger, he was an admitted incel who went on a rampage in Isla Vista. I put the correct pronunciation in there for Isla. It's not Isla, which is the location of the University of California, Santa Barbara, otherwise known as UCSB. This happened in 2014. Elliot Rodger attended Santa Barbara City College, a few miles away from UCSB, kind of a similar proximity as Wazoo is to the University of Idaho. Also, an item found in BK's parents' Pennsylvania home refers to a book with a sentence highlighted on page 118. And this is a typed out portion. You can find this with the handwritten, uh, same information that's all handwritten, but this is a little bit easier to understand. And I highlighted a book with underlining on page 118. Curiously, you look at the number one item, it says knife, but it's very ambiguous. We don't know if that's a K-bar knife or just some other knife, but just kind of worth pointing out there. Curiously, Elliot Rogers' manifesto has some profound statements on page 118 that could be relevant and what was possibly underlined by BK. Page 118 is shown below with some possible phrases highlighted. First part, there's not too much of interest, but if you want to look through a madman's writing, you can read part of this. Whoops. Go to the second part here. I highlighted one part here where it says, I had nothing left to live for but revenge. And this could be something that he underlined. I'm not sure. And if you go to the last part of page 118, you kind of look at the bottom here, and it's very similar statements. It came to the point where I had to set a date for the day of retribution. He goes into all kinds of other stuff. He thought about Halloween, but there's too many cops walking around, blah, blah, blah. And then he decided, it'll be the day of retribution would have to be on a normal party weekend. So I set for sometime during November of 2013. Elliot Rogers did not go through with it in November 2013. There was other issues, so he pushed it out till March 2014. But it's just the thinking is kind of similar. But, I don't know what that book is, but we'll find out. So I say here, I realize it's a long shot that the books we covered is Elliot Rogers' manifesto, but there are some phrases like, I had nothing left to live for except for revenge that would fit into BK's possible mindset that night, might be what was underlined. Another curious article I came across was this picture of BK at a reading of A Handmaid's Tale while he was attending Northampton Community College in 2018. You see him sitting right in the front there. A Handmaid's Tale, in short, is a story about government institutionalized control of women, which if you read Elliot Rogers' rambling, crazy epilogue near the end of his manifesto, pages 135 to 138, somewhat similar to what Elliot Rogers was proposing. I also think that the Facebook profile Papa Roger, if it turns out to be BK, would make the incel case stronger because BK could be tipping his hat to Elliot Rogers by using his last name. I'll show a little side-by-side comparison of Brian Kohlberger and Papa Roger, just for reference there. So I put a little summary together of BK's past, while he was in Pennsylvania. When I review BK's past up until he moved to Pullman, Washington, it just paints a picture of an awkwardly social person, bullied by both males and females, but it seems that the female bullying cut deeper. BK doesn't seem to have any sustained close or best male friends, nor ever any kind of intimate female friends, that is, any kind of sustained girlfriend as opposed to a non-intimate platonic female friend, which he may have had a few. In my world, BK is what we call a chick deflector and just simply can't attract nor relate to females. It just seems to me he was a loner and had no close friends after high school and completing rehab, especially from the ages 21 to 27. Now we fast forward, BK moves to Pullman, Washington. On June 18th, BK graduates DeSales University with his MA in criminology. BK then moves to Pullman a week later, leaving Pennsylvania on June 25th, 2022. We know that his dad drove out with him to help him move in. It was reported that BK's dad asked a neighboring couple, can you be his friend? The wife told the husband something to the effect of, he gives me the creeps and don't be his friend. Spot on intuition, in my humble opinion, by the wife. What parent requests friendship in support of a 27-year-old man? That is something as a parent you say in support of your 3 to 5-year-old child. Also, BK's mom, who was believed to be a Reddit user called You Downtown Love, apparently wrote on Reddit on June 25, 2022, the actual day BK left for Pullman, following post. I believe she simply got his age wrong, as he was 27, not 26, but everything else just seems to fit perfectly. So this red outline is from another user that I cut and pasted, but if you go to the second line there, it says the post states, hello friends, today my 26-year-old son left for Washington State to begin his doctorate in criminology. We live in Pennsylvania. I probably won't be submitting many designs in the next few days because I will be too busy crying. I will see you all soon. And in response to another post, she again states, "Thank you so much for saying that to me. My son will be in Pullman in the eastern part of the state, quite close to the Idaho border. He knows absolutely no one, and we have no family there. I worry about him being lonely, so your message made me feel better." And I kind of agree with the person's statement here. The only thing that suggests that this user might not be Brian's mother is that when the post was written on June 25th, 2022, Brian was 27 years old, not 26. But everything else suggests that it is his mother. And I think she just got a little error there because I don't think there's too many people going from Pennsylvania to Washington State University to get their PhD in criminology. The odds of that would be pretty long. Both statements by his parents further my claim. BK was essentially a loner, simply had no friends, was awkward socially, has a hard time making friends. It just seems like he can't sustain any kind of relationship or friendships. BK's Pullman days. So this is focusing into kind of two chapters here. Chapter 1, the 12 passes of the 1122 King Road residence from June 2022 until November 13, 2022. Although the PCA states that there were 12 passes of the 1122 King Road residence by BK's phone, presumably while driving in his white Elantra, the exact dates were not given. PCA also states that 11 of the 12 passes were late at night or early morning hours. In my opinion, these 12 passes were in part surveillance, but primarily dry runs. I postulate that BK knew he couldn't have his phone on just before and after committing the crime he was planning. I think these 11 dry runs in the dark were to make sure BK was confident he knew the route out to the I-95 South in the dark without relying on directions from his phone. Most of the roads behind the King Road residence dead end in the cul-de-sacs and could cause you to go backtrack or go in circles if you didn't know the area or the way out. The route that I show on the following slide proposes that BK left 1122 King Road after the crime, then made a left on Taylor Avenue, which turns into Walenta Drive and goes behind the King Road residence. He proceeds on Walenta Drive, then makes a right on Sunnyside Avenue, then another right onto Conestoga Drive, then making a left on Palouse River Road, which he took to the I-95 South towards Blaine, Idaho. There are a few other possibilities, but this would be the most efficient route from Walenta Road, thus avoiding major roads with more surveillance cameras. It is my position that BK took this route those 11 times while it was dark to ensure he knew his way out to the I-95 South without relying on directions via smartphone. PCA also states this was BK's likely escape route. So I kind of put it in yellow there. You can start and follow it through, see all the other dead ends and whatnot, but it's just my opinion there. Chapter 2, Problems at Wazoo. It has been widely reported that during BK's first semester as a PhD student, as well as his job as a TA, had been deteriorating as the semester moved along. Apparently, there were many complaints by female students that he graded them harder, I say incel anyone, and BK was having run-ins with one Dr. Snyder as well as a few of his other superiors. It was reported that Dr. Snyder made him write some sort of corrective action and how he was going to change. There was also a report that he broke into a co-ed's apartment, moved things around her apartment, and offered to help his security system. If true, that to me that's very creepy. Why I feel this wasn't BK's first time, but that is another topic. We also heard that his disposition seemed to change after November 13th, 2022, and simply gave everyone hundreds. I think he knew after December 7th, when it was reported they were looking for a white Elantra, BK had to get himself and his white Elantra out of town as fast as possible. We know that BK was fired from his TA position as he was heading back to Pennsylvania in mid-December 2022, effectively making his position as a PhD candidate in major jeopardy. Possible motivations. I speculate in BK's case, his motivation was multi-layered and complex. I think BK was a very book-smart person. He wasn't very street-smart, lacked basic common sense, and made many dumb mistakes. It has been my experience that many PhDs, although he wasn't a PhD yet, he was just a PhD candidate, think they are smarter than everyone else but can't find their car in the parking lot. I've had personal experience with that. BK didn't even make it through his first semester pursuing his PhD and wasn't getting a PhD from Wazoo. So in my humble opinion, BK's motive was part incel, why he targeted those very smart, attractive women, type of women he could never have, and part to show the world, and secretly his professors, that he was smarter than everybody else and could get away with a quadruple homicide without getting caught. The other part of his motivation was to overcome his curiosity and feel what it's like to be a serial killer. Why he put out that questionnaire on Reddit to existing convicted serial killers. I also postulate that the occupants of the King Road residence were targeted due to its layout, viewable from all sides, split-level access, first and second floors, and its target-rich environment, 5 attractive sorority females. Possible primary target. I also think that BK had a primary target, a primary obsession, likely Maddie, but it could have been Kaylee. I base this on reports that BK had pictures on his phone of one of the females, as well as tried to contact one of the females via direct message on Instagram. But she apparently never responded back. This should come out during the trial, but my best guess is that his obsession was with Maddie. I do also think that BK planned to take out at least 3 of the other females. This is related to another theory I have about how BK, being a student of criminology and would be familiar with many local unsolved crimes, possibly wanted to tie his crime to 2 other existing early morning unsolved knife crimes. The first one occurred in Washougal, Washington, 3 a.m. with 1 victim. This was on June 13, 2020. Another one occurred in Salem, Oregon at 3 a.m. with 2 victims, August 13, 2021, although one of the victims survived after being stabbed 19 times. I also thought that BK was not involved with these other 2 crimes, as he was in Pennsylvania, but he wanted to establish a pattern to throw law enforcement off. All these crimes occurring on the 13th of the month, first 1, then 2, then his crime result in 3 victims. I think Ethan was a surprise for BK and why he ended up with 4 victims. My Idaho 4 theory, this is the early morning to noon, November 13, 2022. I have a disclaimer here. The following is my detailed working Idaho 4 theory utilizing a chronological timeline. Of course, BK is presumed innocent until found guilty by the Latah County, Idaho Court of Law. This is all opinion and speculation on my part. 2 a.m. This time stamps from the PCA. All 5 residents of the King Road house, Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, Dylan, and Bethy, are home after a night out on the town. This also includes Ethan, a non-resident who was spending the night as a guest of Xana's. And I put the evidence page 3 of the PCA where it states that. 2:44 a.m. timestamp from the PCA. BK leaves his WSU residence. Again, I put the statement there from the PCA. Page 7. 2:47. Another timestamp from the PCA. BK turns his phone off or puts it in airplane mode. This is from page 13 of the PCA. 3:30 a.m. timestamp is from the Lynn Lane footage. BK makes his first pass of the 1122 King Road residence. This is his a screenshot from the Lynn Lane security footage showing to his headlights. He's going to make a right turn, go around that apartment, and go by the King Road residence. It's presumed. There should be other video that substantiates that. Then he comes around. 3:39 again, timestamps from the Lynn Lane footage, same sort of thing. This is the second pass. And then at 3:45, this is the timestamp from the 76 gas station A&W surveillance cameras. It's kind of a grainy photo of a car resembling a white Elantra seen speeding by the 76 gas station, an A&W restaurant on the corner of Taylor and Main Street. This location is about 3/4 of a mile from the King Road residence. Hasn't been confirmed if this is BK's white Elantra, but it seems very likely. The time frame and proximity fits, because this is when he goes on a little longer loop or wherever he goes. But the other ones were 8 minutes, and this one he was gone for more like 15 minutes on the 3rd loop. 3:56 a.m. timestamps from the Lynn Lane footage. BK makes his 3rd pass of the 1122 King Road residence. We know at 4 a.m. timestamp from the PCA, Xana receives her DoorDash order, presumably from Jack in the Box. This is from page 3 of the PCA. 4:05 a.m. timestamps from the Lane footage. A couple of information from the PCA. BK pulls in front of the Lynn Lane apartment, stops for about 10 seconds, and proceeds to make a 3-point turn and head back towards the King Road residence. Stops for a moment in front of the King Road residence and proceeds to make another 3-point turn at the corner of Queen and King Roads. Head back towards the Linda Lane apartment again. This is part 1 of pass 4 because he kind of had an aborted pass here. 4:07 a.m. Timestamps from the Linda Lane footage. BK completes his 4th pass in front of the Linda Lane apartments, then presumably parks near the back of the 1122 King Road residence moments later. 4:08 a.m. Timestamp is my speculation. After parking, BK preps his kill kit, likely a tote box with a lid. Alternatively, it could be some sort of plastic bag, but a plastic bag is more flimsy and harder to handle, more possibility for leakages, all that kind of stuff, and places it next to his car and leaves the lid off. I speculate he has already prepped the inside of his car with plastic coverings and towels, etc. I speculate he is wearing a dark-colored one-piece jumpsuit. BK also has a mask over his mouth and nose, which is consistent with what DM claims in the PCA. Also postulate BK was likely wearing gloves as well, and it's possible even some sort of disposable covering over his shoes, like you get in the hospital, paper plastic booties. I think it's very likely that his one-piece jumpsuit may not have had a belt line, and therefore he had no place to attach his K-bar sheath. Proposed BK simply carried his K-bar knife in its sheath into the residence with his hands. 4:09 a.m. timestamp is my speculation. BK enters the King Road residence from the sliding glass door on the 2nd floor. Either the sliding glass doors were left unlocked, or if locked, BK simply broke in. BK could have used his K-bar knife or used some other method to break into the sliding glass door. 4:10 a.m. Timestamp is my speculation. BK initially goes up to the 3rd floor and attacks Maddie in her sleep. At the time he starts his attack, I believe Kaylee is in her room with her dog Murphy. When Murphy alerts, Kaylee awakes and hears strange sounds coming from Maddie's room and states, "There's somebody here," as DM claims in the PCA she heard. Kaylee shuts the door behind her, effectively locking Murphy in her room, and goes to Maddie's room to investigate. Kaylee confronts BK. She fights back hard, but BK, being armed with the K-bar knife, prevails and leaves them both deceased on Maddie's bed. In the unexpected struggle with Kaylee, BK loses his sheath. 4:12 a.m. Timestamp is from the PCA. Though Xana is on TikTok, I speculate that Ethan was likely sleeping or dozing in Xana's bed. I also speculate that Xana, after finishing her DoorDash meal, was listening to TikTok via headphones to not wake or bother Ethan, which would have masked and muddled the sounds emanating from the rest of the house. And I show you what's stated on page 4 of the PCA. 4:14 a.m. timestamp is my speculation. BK then walks down the stairs and intends to attack Xana next, but at this time Xana is possibly located in a nearby bathroom or in the kitchen, where her Jack-in-the-Box bag was later photographed. BK goes into Xana's room, attacks and ambushes a person that is in the bed, sleeping dozing, but it is Ethan, not Xana. 4:17 a.m. timestamp is from the PCA. A large thud is heard from the security cameras across from the King Road residence. I believe this is Ethan falling victim to BK's ambush. You can see the evidence on page 4 of the PCA. 4:18 a.m. This is timestamp, again, is my speculation. As Xana walks back to her room from the bathroom or kitchen, she runs into BK near her doorway. This is when DM hears him say, "I'm here to help you," but is a ruse, and BK attacks her. Xana fights back hard, but eventually overpowers her and leaves her deceased in her doorway. 4:19 a.m. Timestamp is my speculation. BK exits back through the 2nd story sliding glass doors and runs up the little hill to his car. He steps into the plastic tote box, removes any shoe coverings, peels off his one-piece jumpsuit, any gloves, his mask, and the K-bar knife all go in the tote box. Then he closes the lid, places the tote box in his car, and drives away. Blood, which is very viscous, won't leak through the thick walls of a plastic tote box. This shedding of clothes should only take about 40 seconds to accomplish and will essentially minimize or eliminate the amount of residual blood that would otherwise be left behind in BK's white Elantra. 4:20 a.m. Timestamp is from the PCA. BK is seen driving away from the residence at a high rate of speed. BK proceeds to drive his white Elantra and exits the area using this back route I described above, eventually making his way to the I-95 south. And you can see what's stated on page 6 of the PCA there. So I put a little summary together. This theory at least fits with the supposed fact as documented in the PCA. Murphy found unharmed with no evidence of blood on him, locked in Kaylee's room. Maddie and Kaylee found deceased in Maddie's room. Ethan found deceased in Xana's room near the back wall, and Xana found deceased near the doorway of her room. 4:48 a.m. Timestamp is from the PCA. BK turns his phone back on or turns off airplane mode. This occurs on the I-95 west of Blaine, Idaho. Curiously, when I Google map directions from 1122 King Road to just west of Blaine, Idaho, on the I-95, it says it should only take 8 minutes to get there from the King Road residence, but it looks like it took BK 28 minutes, 4:20 to 4:48 a.m. Of course, BK did not go the most efficient route, as the map below shows. He took the back route, likely to avoid a bunch of security cameras on the more efficient route. Still leaves a missing 10 or 15 minutes or so. So I put a little map together here of the most efficient way, which would take 8 minutes, but it took BK 28 minutes to get to the same point west of Blaine, Idaho, where he turned his phone back on. And you can see what it states there on page 13 and 14, so I'll go through in the following slide or two. So 5 o'clock a.m. timestamp is my speculation based on Google Maps travel time. BK turns west near Genesee, Idaho, and heads down to Uniontown, Washington. Approximately 12 minutes travel time from Genesee, Idaho to Uniontown. 5:12 timestamp is my speculation based on Google Maps travel time. BK turns north at Uniontown, Washington, heads back to Pullman via I-195. It could be 95, may have a mistake in there. Approximately 18 minutes travel time from Uniontown, Washington, to BK's residence in Pullman, Washington. 5:26 timestamp is from PCA. BK arrives back in the general Pullman area. 5:30 timestamps from the PCA, and based on Google Maps travel time, BK arrives back to his WSU residence. 5:30 a.m. timestamp is from the PCA, and again, based on Google Maps travel time, BK arrives back to his WSU residence. See what it states there on page 14. I speculate that BK, once home, started monitoring media outlets, eager and waiting to hear media broadcasts of his evil deed. I think he expected to hear something by 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. at the latest. 9 a.m. timestamp is from the PCA. BK leaves his WSU residence and drives towards the King Road residence. You see what's stated on page 14 there, the PCA. 9:12 timestamp is from the PCA. BK arrives in the area of the 1122 King Road residence. BK spends approximately 9 minutes near the King Road residence. Note that there was a report that someone saw him in the band field, the field between the Sigma Chi frat house and the King Road residence. I do not know if LE has verified the sighting. Alternative, BK may have made a loop around once or twice using Walenta Road, which would give him a view down the King Road residence from a somewhat safe distance. There you can see what's stated on page 14 of the PCA. 9:21 a.m. timestamps from the PCA. BK leaves the area, 1122 King Road residence. I think BK drove by the King Road residence because he wanted to see all the police, first responders, as it's a classical SK trait to return to the scene of the crime shortly thereafter and relish in the chaos they've created. Also, he may have performed this drive-by because he's wondering why there were no media reports yet. 9:32 a.m. timestamps from the PCA. BK arrives back at his WSU residence. You can see what's stated on page 14 there, the PCA. So some observations on the 9:12, 9:21 a.m. King Road residence drive-by. I credit this observation to YouTube creator Real Piscine Predator, who stated it just can't be a coincidence that BK was just randomly driving around and just happened to go straight to the scene of an unknown to the rest of the world at the time quadruple homicide, linger for 9 minutes in that specific location, and drive straight back home. Odds of that occurring are astronomical. It's about the same odds as Eva Longoria knocking at my door in the next 5 minutes. And when I opened the door, she's standing there in bikini asking me for a date. I think that's about the same odds. And I second TRPP's observation there. Also, don't think BK went back to get the sheet, as some had theorized, as he must have realized he left it behind, but way too risky at 9:15 a.m. or so to re-enter the scene of a crime like that. Very likely to be seen by someone at that time in the morning, since King Road residence is a densely populated area. 11:58 a.m. timestamp is from various PD press conferences and news sources. This is when the 911 call was made. Not been much information provided related to the 911 call. Most likely scenario that I can think of is that DM rationalized what she saw and what she heard is just normal party house noises and went back to sleep. As far as BF goes, we don't know if she heard or saw anything one way or another. It's very common for college students, especially after a night of partying, to sleep in till 11 or noon or even later. It has been reported that one of the roommates first called over very nearby friends and family located in nearby apartment houses. Then the roommate fainted outside the house. One of those nearby friends and or family members used her phone to call 911. However, that scenario remains to be confirmed and verified. Okay, now we get to my takeaways. It's my strong contention that BK acted alone. Very rare that serial killers are part of a team. When they are, typically they are related via marriage or blood and have spent significant time together to build up enough trust between each other. Some examples are the Hillside Stranglers, which were cousins, Ken and Barbie serial killers, married couple, Fred and Rosemary West, married couple, Sunset Strip serial killers, boyfriend and girlfriend. Since BK was not good at making friends and only recently moved to Pullman, Washington, had no relatives anywhere nearby, I highly doubt he had some sort of accomplice. I believe BK had plenty of time to eliminate all 4 victims. For my assessment scenario, it looks like BK was inside King Road residence approximately 10 minutes, 4:09 to 4:19 a.m. We know that all 4 of the victims had been out late partying. It was very likely all but Xana was asleep or in a doze state at the time when BK entered. It wouldn't take long to walk up and attack Maddie, who I presume was sleeping. 1 to 2 minutes would be all it would take to ambush someone defenseless sleeping in bed. Then per my scenario, BK next had to face Kaylee, since I think that she walked into Maddie's room and confronted BK and fought him off back hard, but maybe 2 to 3 minutes before she was eliminated. So worst case, it would be 5 minutes for the horrific events to happen on the 3rd floor. I think a similar scenario played out on the 2nd floor. Ethan was likely sleeping or dozing in bed, was ambushed in bed 1 to 2 minutes or so. Then Xana, who may have walked in and fought back another 2 or 3 minutes. So again, worst case would be 5 minutes for the horrific events on the 2nd floor. Totals of 10 minutes, and in my view, 2 minutes to eliminate a sleeping or dozing person, 3 minutes to eliminate an awake person that is fighting back. Especially fairly petite females, individually facing 5'10", athletic male armed with a K-bar knife. It seems to be very reasonable time frames. I think it is very likely that BK over-attacked his victims while the initial crime of passion claims was made by law enforcement. That is why it took a total of about 10 minutes. I think the time frame in theory could have been much less. BK just did the minimum needed to just eliminate each victim. However, we won't know if any of that is true, any excessive stabbing or whatnot, until the autopsy report is revealed during the trial. As stated above, I think that BK's motivation was complicated, part incel, part showing everyone that he was smarter than anybody else, and as well as wanting to feel what a serial killer feels like during and after committing a brutal crime. Thank you for your time considering my theory. Ultimately, I have no way of knowing exactly what happened. I could be totally wrong or partially right or anywhere in between, but decided to present a plausible theory based on the facts as we know them.